Hi everybody, Tom Bull from Sun Racing here with our weekend preview, and I'm delighted this week to be joined by Steve Mullin, aka Templegate, and Simon Clare of Coral. Obviously a big race this weekend with the Coral-Eclipse on Sunday, but first up we're going to talk about the Investec Derby, the big race for the 3-year-old colts on Saturday. Thankfully it's at Epsom this year. Simon, I come to you first. You got some prices for us, and what are your thoughts on the race?
Yeah, it's a terrific derby. I mean, a big field, a great favourite, really, a winner of the Lingfield Derby Trial, trained by a young English trainer called English King. I mean, it's not trained by Aidan O'Brien or owned by Godolphin. I think it's a great favourite, ridden by Tory, but he's drawn badly. He's drawn one. He's been pushed up to 7-2. He was as short as 9-4 a few days ago, and that there'll be a lot of focus on that number one draw. Interesting, number two, you got Mogul. Again, I think no horse has ever won the Derby for a draw two, and Ryan Moore has picked Mogul of all the Aidan O'Brien horses. So I think bookers will be looking to take those on. Kamiko, the Down type of stamina, he's 5-1. And there's been a lot of outside. I think the fact that people believe maybe the front horses are, they've got weakness in them, they've got chinks. And things like Mohican Height has shorted to 16-1. There's been bits of money for Serpentine, bits of money for Emissary, the half-brother to work for. So I think from a betting point of view, it's like a compelling derby. It's the biggest race of the frat season, bar none, every year. And this year with the Oaks on the same day, the Coral-Eclipse the next day, we're looking at an amazing weekend. And it's a great centrepiece, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the kind of race where you could give almost everything a chance, couldn't you, I think, this year? Steve, Templegate, what's your thought on the race? Have you got a big fancy?
Yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle this year, isn't it? I mean, the favourite, the Lingfield Derby Trial, it's a good race, but it doesn't normally produce the Derby favourite, which kind of shows how open it is. Mogul's the most interesting horse in the race for me, because if you just beamed down from Mars, you'd think he should be 25-1, having seen what he's done so far. But because he comes from the great man, Aidan O'Brien, and he's their number one, you think, well, okay, fair enough. But I mean, on form, why is Pile Driver so much longer in the betting, having just turned him over? And there's the draw factor, like Simon was saying. Trap 2's a shocking draw, and Trap 1's even worse for English King. But I suppose Frankie Dettori's the ideal man. There's no logical reason, I suppose, why draw 1's so bad. But it just is. It's just one of those things that, I suppose you're on the outside at one point and then the inside at another point as you're coming around the bend. So it's all a bit tricky. The one I've come in for is Russian Emperor. I was just pretty impressed with that Hampton Court win. Looks like this step up in distance will be ideal. Asheen Murphy's been talking about Kamiko, and he's not the most bullish, I know, but he's obviously worried about the horse staying. I also thought he ran around a little bit at Newmarket, so I'm not convinced he'll be ideal at Epsom. So of the O'Brien battalion, Russian Emperor for me, I think the extra trip will be fantastic. Shamey Heffernan's on. I'm a big fan of Shamey. And if you're looking for an outsider, there's plenty in with a chance. I think Highland Chief will run quite well, and a big price for the Coles. I think that was a good run at Ascot. Big hiking class from a handicap, obviously, but we've seen it done this season. It's an unusual season, and they're my two against the field: Russian Emperor and at a big price, Highland Chief.
Excellent stuff. Well, hopefully great minds will think alike, because I'm come down on Russian Emperor as well. I think he's got a huge chance. He has all the kind of hallmarks, doesn't he, of a horse who's going to relish to step up to 1.5 miles. So hopefully he'll be Aidan O'Brien's number one. I can't have Mogul at all on that run at Ascot. He's going to have to improve 1.5 stones on my book. And I mean, although he probably can, if Aidan O'Brien can work his magic, I just think it's too big an ask. And that draw could be a proper drawback. So hopefully Russian Emperor can do the biz. That's the Derby. On to the Investec Oaks, which is earlier on the card on Saturday. Simon, do you want to run through a couple of the runners and some of the prices?
Yeah, Love heads the betting. Obviously, Aidan O'Brien's record in the race is fantastic. She was brilliant in the 1,000 guineas. She's 11-10. I can see a lot of people piling on her. Frankly Darling, Frankie Dettori, beautifully named. Very impressive at Ascot. 15-8, and then you got Ennis Dimon, who was staying on, but fairly slowly behind Frankly Darling, I thought, at Ascot. She's 13-2, and then it's 14's Bar, so a smaller field, no less compelling though. And just a quick glance, I was looking through the form, the worry for the 1,000 guineas is the second, third and fourth have all come out and been beaten. She was very impressive, Love, but was it a strong guineas? And I just thought Frankly Darling, the way she won at Ascot, she looked terrific. And that John Gosden Frankie Dettori pairing at the moment, the last couple of years, been so strong. Of the prices, I think she's the one I'd fall down on.
Indeed, they are a most dangerous duo. Steve, would you agree, or are you going to side with something else?
No, I very much agree. I think Frankly Darling was very, very impressive at Ascot. Shows that the trip is fine. The Frankie factor's involved. John Gosden, they've won it. Was it 2 of the last 3? Is it they've teamed up to win? And although it's a race that's short on depth, the top 2 in the betting are as good as any 2 you'll see in the Oaks. So it must be a match, I would have thought, unless something really comes up and improves massively. I mean, you can't quibble. Love won the Guineas, and all the talk before the Guineas was that the Oaks would be a prime, race for her on breathing and everything, and she was extremely impressive. I've been trying to look for ways to knock her a bit. It's not easy. The best angle I've found is her 2 full sisters, both struggled at Epsom when they ran in the Oaks, but I mean, they hadn't won the Guineas beforehand, so that's a little bit tenuous, but that's something to hang the hat on. I was just very impressed with Frankly Darling. I think there's more to come. John Gosden and Frankie Dettori both said they thought there's more to come, and I think at the prices, I think fair enough, we'll go for that one. I can't see anything else, and this Timon probably come 3rd again, I would have thought.
Interesting, because I'm a big fan of Ennis Diamond. I think she's going to win.
Okay, fair enough.
But only because I was quite impressed with the way she stayed on at Ascot. I know she was beaten a long way by Frankly Darling, but Frankly Darling had the run of the race that day. She was given a lovely ride by Frankie, very prominent early, and I just think this filly's going to have a lot more to come over this trip. I think she stayed on really nicely. I can see her putting it up. She's a bigger price, so you never know what can happen. I mean, Love is obviously the one to beat, but I'm going to be siding with Ennis Diamond at the prices. So hopefully she can run a big race. Now on to Sunday, where obviously the big race of the day is the Coral-Eclipse. It's a brilliant card, actually, at Sandown all day with the Coral Challenge and the Coral Charge as well, amongst many other races. But obviously the Coral-Eclipse is the big race, and it's a cracking contest as we see superstar heroine of the turf, Enable, make her long-awaited return. Simon, how's the book looking?
Yeah, this is a great race. I mean, I've been lucky enough. I've worked with Coral since 1997. I remember the first year was Pilsudski beating Benny the Dip and Bosra Sham, and Kieran Fallon managed to get into trouble in a 5-runner race. And that's really the nature of this race. It throws up amazing stories. Obviously, the likes of See the Stars, Enable last year, Giants Causeway, probably one of my favourites going back a few years. But it's another great race on a Sunday for the first time ever. Playing second fiddle in some ways to the Derby in the Oaks, but not really, because we've got Enable. And she's bidding to be the first horse to win back-to-back Coral-Eclipses since Halling in 1996. So I'm really pleased with the field. It's great to have the star there. The fact that she's got a horse to beat in Gaiath, who's been seen out, looked really impressive at Newmarket in that Coronation Cup. Again, you've got sort of chinks in him. He's brilliant on one day, but is he that good, really? Japan's solid, but a bit disappointing in the Prince of Wales. He's 4-1. So it's 11 to Enable, Gaiath 94, 4-1 Japan, and then 18's bar those, which is Magic 1. So it's again a big 3, and Gaiath and Japan help make the market. But I've got to be honest with you, I'd love Enable to win. I think she's going to win. I think Gaiath might not be quite as good as he appears on those impressive days, and I'd love it if Enable and Frankie could win that race.
Oh, it'd be great for racing, wouldn't it? Hopefully she could do the business. Steve, do you think she's unbeatable, or could something grab her this time?
Well, she's not unbeatable, as she showed in the Arc, unfortunately. It would have been great if she'd kept up the winning run. The tactics of this race are going to be absolutely fascinating, because we talked about it before the Coronation Cup when Gaiath came over, and we all thought it'd get hassled up front and be beaten in that. And it wasn't. And we saw exactly what happened. And if they let that happen again and he goes off and he's got nobody with him, then he could be very hard to peg back. I noticed that Paddy Beggy's riding Magic Wand, and he's, we don't use the dreaded phrase team tactics, do we, or anything like that. We're not saying anything, but I just wonder whether Magic Wand will go off with his backside on fire in the early stages and maybe try just to hassle Gaiath a little bit. That would probably be the only way Japan could win, I would have thought. But I mean, Enable, what is there more to say about her? I mean, she goes well fresh. She likes this trip. She won the race before. Frankie's on board. The great man John Gosden trains it. Let's hope it wins. I think it will, but maybe not if they leave Gaiath alone up front.
Yeah, as you say, tactics to be absolutely fascinating, whether or not they leave Garth alone up front. I'm in the Enable camp too. I thought the only way that she would lose this race, actually, is if Lord North was declared against her, and he hasn't been. So I think the road is clear for her to go and land a second Eclipse in a row. I actually think 1 mile 2 is possibly not quite her strongest trip. I think she is better over 1.5 miles, but the field this year, I think Gaiath, the track might not suit him. Coming around a bend, I think he needs a more galloping Newmarket Rowley Mile type, as you were saying, Simon. So I think it's all roads lead to Enable here. I can't have Japan after his reappearance, although he is likely to come on for that. And then obviously you're looking at big prices for the rest of them. So hopefully Enable can make history. Guys, you got anything else for the rest of the card, or is that about it?
I thought the there's a horse running in the last race at Epsom. Last year, Hatea, Jim Boyle's horse, was well gambled on, as was Simon Dowd's horse, who runs in the race well. I can't quite remember the name. Anyway, we'll go past that. But Hatea was very unlucky, and I thought there's a slight differential in the weights between the two of them. There's been money for it this week, so I think Hatea for Jim Boyle might be the one.
Excellent. Steve, anything from you?
Yeah, it's hardly a bombshell, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Desert Icon running in the 3 o'clock at Epsom on Saturday. That was extremely impressive last time. And I think this might still be a bit of 3-1 around, which I think if it's anything like that, I'll be getting stuck in. It was very impressive, Desert Icon in the 3 o'clock.
Yeah, he was really impressive, wasn't he, last time? For me, Lazuli in the Coral Charge will take an awful lot of beating. I was delighted that he's been declared. And Art Power hasn't been declared, and I thought it was going to be his biggest danger. So hopefully Lazuli will be able to win that and go on to better things later in the season. Great stuff. Thanks very much, guys. Obviously, a massive weekend. And Simon, best of luck with the Coral-Eclipse Day on Sunday. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Thanks for your time, and best of luck to you all at home with all your bets.
Love it.